Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and our guests, to this meeting of online presenters. It has begun. Now, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches. Ultimately, if you have substantial presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. Now, all requests for membership are subject to member of the club's approval. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered otherwise offensive or insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note, the meeting is being recorded and your video or audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Now, I'm going to also ask that we remain muted when we are not speaking. Back by popular demand, the man who created the website that keeps OP running in all of its innovation and amazingness, he's in Florida. I can say, no, I am not rooting for the Hurricanes in that respect, but I know that if it's man versus hurricane, do you think you can take them? Help me get that answer from our president, David Carr.
No, I don't want to test myself against the Hurricanes, Sean, but thank you very much for your vote of confidence in me that I can just turn back the waves. Welcome everybody to Online Presenters Toastmasters. I think we may have at least one guest, or actually the name on the square changed. I think it's just somebody who is just came in and was renaming their little square. I want to mention that we will have our webinar contest next week. It looks like it's going to be 3 club members and 4 members from outside of our club coming here to compete. We are going to have another event after that in July, and we're hoping to build up to a little championship runoff between the winners of each event. So that is something to hopefully help drum up some interest in our club, bring some folks in. I also mentioned that we have Jim and Chris Gold coming to visit with us to talk about YouTube on June 24th. I'm looking for an additional speaker for that, but we'll have some kind of a YouTube focused workshop on June 24th. I know Marianne has lots of other ideas about bringing in guest speakers. So we'll tell us if we're doing it too much, because sometimes people will start to complain that there's too many special programs and why can't I get time on the agenda to speak? So we don't want to crowd you out, but we do want to create more opportunities for you to learn cool stuff, and in the webinar contest to challenge yourself against the best webinar contest people in the world. They must be, or they wouldn't come to our club. With that, let me hand it off to our Toastmaster of the day, Joni Laidlaw, to lead us through the beginning of the meeting.
Thank you, President David. With everything that's happening in the world right now, everything seems to be headed to hell in a handbasket, and I hope that's a very nice way to put it that's not culturally insensitive. That's why I believe love conquers all. In a world that's determined to terrify all of us and make us afraid, it's always important to remember that phrase. See, everybody believes that the opposite of fear is bravery. And if you do look in a dictionary or on Google or for certain definitions, that would be what they state is the opposite. But as everyone at Online Presenters knows, I generally tend not to use the definition of others. For me, the opposite of fear is love. Love makes us do some incredibly stupid, I mean, incredibly wonderful things that we would have never otherwise done. Right now, when everything in this world is quite questionable, it's important to remember love conquers all. For today's meeting, we have a jam-packed agenda. And to start off, we will be having our tip of the day. Now I'm beginning to see it's a him pass to me, to him, to him. You've seen him before and we've done this handover again, but like a good relay, I'm handing it back to David Carr to do our tip of the day.
All right. One of the things I wanted to go over was just where to find some of these handy dandy tools that are built into our website. In particular, the vote counting tool is the thing I was going to focus on, but I'll breeze past some of the others along the way. But the vote counting tool is something that people think is kind of interesting, but where is it? And I think over time, somebody or other has tried to use it and found themselves confused or frustrated. And so we're going to go over where to find it and how to use it. So if you go to the agenda for any of our meetings, the digital agenda on our website, you go to that specific date. You know the section, hopefully you know the section where you go in and you click that button to sign up for a role, or you can assign somebody else to a role. But there's this menu up here that includes a number of basic functions. And let's just touch on a couple of them before I get to the vote counting tool. If I want to email this out to the group because I'm Toastmaster of the day, just realized, oh my gosh, not enough people have signed up. Of course, that's not going to happen anymore here. We're filling our agenda. But just theoretically, if we were short on folks, I can send out a note saying, please fill in these roles. I often try and customize the only one speaker. Well, that might be something to emphasize, that there are speaker openings. And then you can add a note up top. You can send it out to all members, or you can send it to just the people who don't currently have it. So that's an important thing to know where to find. There is also to show the agenda or to print the agenda, some other things in here. But the thing I wanted to focus on today was this vote counters tool. So again, this is, you go to the menu, you go to agenda, vote counters tool. And so, oh geez, I'm gonna take this over for a moment, Carolina, and you can take it back later. I would do this on my demo site, but I'm gonna. So the way this would work is it loads in from our agenda who's signed up for different roles. And sometimes plans change. So, you know, let's just say, theoretically, that Graham had decided to be additional speaker here. He has been known to do that at the last minute. So we can type in a name as well. Maybe we have another person who shows up. And you'll notice if I ever go to these blanks, it does do some little auto-complete magic for me. So if I start to put in ANDR, I can match with Andrew Byrne or Andrei Smolenko. So I'm going to do this and we'll fix it later. So that's going to create a digital ballot that we can share in the chat and people can click on it. And as the individual voting, you don't see the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, but I can click here. And as soon as I click, it will try and automatically copy it to my computer clipboard. I can paste it, which, by the way, depending on what browser you have, that may or may not work, but it does work in Chrome. If not, you can manually copy it and paste it into the chat. People can click on it, people can vote. And then what happens actually is once this gets sent off, I can start the vote count and it will digitally tally up the votes on the screen for me. And I find that, for one thing, this helps me spell everybody's name right. If I'm trying to share in the chat who won, or sometimes we try and do up slides where we have for the announcement of the winners, we'll actually have a slide for each winner, depending on whether there's time to futz with those sorts of things. Now for table topics, there's nothing's filled in because that's not determined ahead of time, but I would just go in and say that Joni wants to speak, or Joni did speak. Graham again, because Graham is all over the place. And we just put in the list of people, we create that digital ballot, and we send it off to people. Let's see. I'm not going to go through the process of simulating how the votes come in, but essentially once I've made these ballots official, I can start the vote count at a time. Right now it's showing that the no votes have come in for speaker because this is not a real contest. And there is somewhere here also a way of fixing this. So there is a link that says edit. So because this is not for real, I can take off Graham, I can take off Andrew, and update this. And that would give us a ballot where you can vote for Kirthikka or vote for Kirthikka, which is the way it is as right. So the advantage of doing it this way is that you get the votes get actually counted for you by the computer. The computer does some of the work for that. It is computer geeks, data professionals talk about this concept of one version of the truth, where if something's on a central dashboard, it is helpful for tallying things up, and that's part of the idea. So we're automating what we can automate. It's less confusing than trying to do it through Zoom chat, I think, although you have to be aware of the fact that sometimes technology will fail you. You have to have fallback plans, but it's a nice tool when it works. So let's leave it at that. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Joni.
Thank you, David, for letting us know. And I agree, Murphy is always around. And if it's one thing that technology enjoys doing, it's embarrassing you. And again, on theme, that's why love conquers all, because we're all here regardless of knowing that that will happen. But we love it. We want to see it improve. So we keep working with it so that we can get around. For our meeting today, we have our role players. Now, no Toastmasters meeting would be done without these role players. First and foremost, and one of the most important roles, is our timer. Toastmaster Carolina, can you let us know how you'll be keeping us on time today?
Yes, sure, Joni. As a timer, my role is to keep track of time for the speeches and evaluations. When I show the green card, it means that the speaker has 2 minutes left for speeches and 1 minute left for evaluations. When I show the yellow card, you should be aware that your time will be up soon. Only 1 minute left for speeches and 30 seconds left for evaluations. And when I show the red card, it means that your time is up. And be careful, because after this signal, you have 30 seconds to finish your speech in order to be qualified. At the end of the meeting, I will present my report for everyone. Back to you, Joni.
Thank you, Madam Timer, for that intricate report on how you're going to do your role. Our next role is the R counter. R counter, Sherry, can you explain to us your role?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My job is to keep track of words that are being overused, words that are being used as crutch words, such as so, which is my favorite crutch word, which I need to get rid of. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be monitoring everyone when they speak. Back to you, Joni.
There you go. No, I've done it. Nobody else will. The rest of your report is going to be empty. Next to the virtual space, our grammarian, Ruth Ellen. Ruth Ellen, let us know what a grammarian does.
Words have no meaning. It's somebody's perspective, right? Today, as grammarian, I will be really monitoring people's use of language and the power of how they're using it. And also focusing on the word of the day, perspective, and how many times that is used by everyone in the meeting. Thank you, Joni.
Thank you for explaining your role, and we are going to look forward to the utilization of perspective. I mean, after all, love makes you do some stupid things, but in perspective, it might have been something quite brilliant that we just didn't see based on perspective. Our next role player that we have today is tum tum tum, insert dramatic music here, the Watcher. Toastmaster Kim, could you please explain your role?
Hey, Joni, Toastmaster today. Thank you so much. So I am going to be watching you and just looking for things because we are an online presenters club. I know we don't have guests today, so I don't need to explain all that, but just what's totally relevant to being online. And I have to say that right now, he just went away, but Marianne, your dog is the cutest thing I've ever seen, and that is what I'm looking for, is really cute things on our online perspective. So thank you so much. Back to you, Toastmaster Joni.
Thank you, Kim, for that description of the Watcher role. See, it's all about perspective. You can be a watcher or a watcher. It's all about how you look at things. Our next role is something that's special to online presenters. This is a chat monitor. Now, this is important if you're like me and you always have a point and you need to get it across, but you can't unmute to interrupt everyone. You can get the chance to put it in the chat respectfully so we do not disturb the speaker. But wouldn't it be nice to have somebody to remind you what happened in the chat? Our chat monitor today is Carrie Kong. Carrie, can you explain what you'll be doing for us?
I think Carrie Kong is not here yet. She arrived and then she will be back again. So she asked me to fill in everyone about the chat monitor role that we will be sharing with Carrie Kong. Is exciting role because you need to monitor chat. Where everyone speaks, you monitor chat. The only thing about chat monitor is you can have a nice rest, because during prepared speeches, it's advisable not to use chat and pay attention to the speaker. Overall, the chat monitor will look through it and give a short, concise, and hopefully interesting report at the end of the meeting. Back to you, Johnny.
Thank you, our substitute fill-in acting chat monitor, Andrew. While we wait on our chat monitor, did we say we love technology, but from a perspective sometimes? However, that's the beauty of having a team. We get the opportunity to assist each other in making things happen. Now, I know you've seen her before, but I do believe this has become her resident role, and we're going to work as online presenters to take that one of her jobs away from her. I don't think she would mind, but I'm going to ask our resident vote counter to let us know what she will be doing, and she can also help answer the question that was in the chat based on the tip of the day. Toastmaster Carolina, over to you.
Joni, excuse me, what did you say?
Your vote counter role.
I'm sorry. My role as a vote counter is to count your votes for your favorite evaluator. I will put a link in the, and at the end of the meeting, I will announce my report. It seems that I'm having internet issues. Back to you, Joni.
See, it's all about perspective, because here I was checking if it was me, because I was worried that it was mine that's happening. But you know what? It's all about perspective. We will get through this and do an amazing job at our meeting. For any guests, which I don't think we have today, but for anybody watching on the recording after, a Toastmasters meeting is actually divided into 3 segments. Now, we have the prepared speech segment, which today we have a speaker who is blazing through her path. Today, she will be giving us her speech, and she's actually cracked the code, which is if you want to be best speaker, be the only one. Please help me welcome Kirthikka Devi Venkataram. Hope I got that right, Kirthikka.
Thank you, Yoni. The everyday irrationality. Decision is a sharp knife that cuts clean and straight. Indecision, a dull one that hacks and tears and leaves hedges behind it. This has to do something with our everyday irrationality. This quote actually has to do with our everyday irrationality. I happened to witness a management class years long back. The professor in the class posted this question: on a long term, where do you want to see yourself professionally? Initially, the students were puzzled to hear such a question. It's because of the fact 80% of the students weren't future focused. Just 20% of the students were future ready. Now let's see the responses that has been provided by the first set, that is the 80% of the students. The first majority of the response was, we wanted to carry forward our family business. The second majority of the response was, we wanted to learn more through our profession. Ignorant about the human psychology and not walking through the behavior economics was evident from their response. They were considered to be swift thinkers. They were considered to be quick decision makers, but at the cost of not having a voluntary control over them. Now, let's check the response by the second 20%, by the second set, the 20% of the students who were considered to be the future ready leaders. The top response was, I wanted to lead an organization that has a strength of 1,000+ employees. The second top answer was, I wanted to derive a new management theory. The answers were unique. If you see both of them, especially the second set of students, they reflected on their past. They were able to place themselves or position themselves exactly in the current status and provide a projected, visible, and realizable future profession to themselves. I just wanted to charter them into two black boxes. As black box one, where they were arbitrary in their responses, and I wanted to call them as arbitrary whimsicals. The second set of students who were like clear-cut and focused in their responses, I wanted to call them as the detailed or attention clenched gainers. Now, let's post a question to the two set of students who are charted into their respective black boxes. Here is a question to them. This is a bat and ball problem. The bat and ball cost $1.10 together. The bat alone costs $1 more than the ball. Now, what is the cost of the ball? I request you all to take part in this bat and ball problem and ping in your answers in the chat box. We'll just take 20 to 30 minutes, 30 seconds of your time so that I can see your answers after that. Meanwhile, let's discuss and get back to this bat and ball problem. The response from the two black boxes were quite astonishing, and they were like mixed kind of responses. Humans have high heuristic tendency when they have to decide on a problem. When you think of failure to process information promptly, this is the main reason for wrong conclusion or judgment. Great. I can see some responses. If you happen to ping in your answer as $1 for the cost of the ball, or $1 less than the cost of the ball, then you exactly fall into the category of detail or attention clenched gains. If you happen to ping in your answer as $0.05, you nailed it. Okay, humans weigh losses and gain separately, independently, and individually. In fact, Daniel Kahneman did not even release his book when the management class that I witnessed was happening. But later I got to know this is the phenomenon of prospect theory. Individuals make decisions based on the perceived gains instead of perceived losses. Perspectives, you know. Now there is a different scenario. Planning for a project that did not have any past project reference or the kind of task that was taken forward. The most important thing was there isn't a technical know-how about the task that needs to be taken forward. I happen to work on it with a realistic project planning and goal setting after carrying out a rigorous document study and a technical know-how, diving into the deep technical details required to take forward the project. Forming a new set of team was quite challenging. There were a lot of biases in front of me where one major bias was horrifying me, and that was anchoring bias. Anchoring bias is a cognitive bias that causes you to rely heavily on the first set of information that is available to you. You also have to interpret the rest of the details based on the initial anchor that you lay. This obviously causes a lot of disturbances in your decision-making process. After conducting a successful retrospect of the project, I learned there are a lot of things from a decision-making process. It's that the first thing is you need to yourself into your memory and energize with fast facts and intuitive thinking. You rationalize the data with mastery and apply a creamy layer of your expertise during your decision-making process. Planning policy is obviously expected, but you need to learn how to predict it. The last set is extract the pinnacle of prospect theory to validate your biases. Assess the profound implication of the economic transactions and negotiation. Thus, the idea of the future, which is unpredictable, is undermined every day by the ease with which the past is determined. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Kirthikka, for your speech. I won't go any further. It will be up to our evaluator to provide the details on that. Just checking for everybody. We said there are 3 parts. The evaluation is the 3rd part. So what part would we be on now? We're doing math. What part would we be on? 2. All right, yay, for everybody who didn't get the 0.5 cents. See? Perspective. We did some math. Just have to be an easy math. For the second part of our meeting, we have table topic. This is the part where you get to speak impromptu, and it's everybody's favorite part of the meeting for different reasons, and some love it, some hate it. It's all about perspective, but it's all our favorite part. Help me welcome our table topics master, our vice president of education, and the man with the voice. He represented in contests in his area. Right now, he's down under, and that is not offensive because it literally is what you call where he is, Australia. Help me welcome. Okay.
Thank you, Toastmaster Joni. Thank you, everybody, for coming along here today. And I noticed that we have a couple of guests have arrived. So just to explain to our guests what this is about, you just saw a prepared presentation where Kirthikka has a chance to work out exactly what it is she's going to say and try to fit it within a certain time frame. The other form of speaking that we do here in Toastmasters, but that we also do in real life, if you like, is impromptu speaking. And quite frankly, impromptu speaking is the type of speaking that we're more often called upon to do. It's not often that the boss asks us to do a 7-minute presentation to the board, but she will quite regularly ask us to put together something to our team instantly and tell them what's happening with the project that we're working on or that sort of thing. So we have the opportunity to practice impromptu speaking. With a table topic, I will give 8 lucky recipients today a chance to answer a topic which I will give them. They have no notice of what that topic is going to be until I give it to them, and they're then asked to speak for between 1 and 2 minutes, with lighting at 1 minute for the green light, 1.5 for the amber, which means that you should start thinking about shutting up, and 2 minutes will mean a red light, at which point you should be quiet within 30 seconds thereof. Now, the questions for today's table topics come from a set of cards. Well, I actually bought I bought a set of cards from a district conference which we held here recently in my native Australia, and they're very nice cards, very pretty. Yeah, they look lovely. You'll not see them, but on the back of them there are questions which you can't see because they're too far away and because the screen will blur them. But I'm going to give them to you anyway. I have, as I say, 8 questions, and I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to ask the question and then ask the participant. So, what music do you listen to lift your spirits when you're feeling down? And that question goes to Marianne. What music do you listen to lift your spirits when you're feeling down? Marianne.
Well, I have to say that I'm not down very often, Graham. But I like Michael Franti, and he's got kind of happy music and very bouncy. And when I listen to it, there's a playlist on Spotify where he and similar artists with that kind of happy music play. I've even gotten my husband to listen to it, which that's really quite a feat because he's kind of a country music guy. So Michael Fronte, I'm hoping to get to see him sometime soon. I know he's on tour right now in the summertime, but I haven't seen him yet, but I would love to. When I put music together, I go to water aerobics in the morning. And when I do that, they play a lot of upbeat, happy music there. So I've been getting some new ideas. And so talk to me again in about, a month or two, and I'm going to have a brand new playlist, but everything will be upbeat, happy, because that's what I am trying to achieve in my days. So I hope you will all take a listen to Michael Fronte Radio on Spotify. Back to you, Graham.
Excellent. Shall check that one out because I can never have enough Spotify playlists. Thank you, Marianne. Now, I noticed that we have a couple of guests, Mitesh and Hamida. If either of you would like to take part in this, just put yes, please, in the chat, and I'll keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, our second question is, what is your favorite time of year? So what is your favorite time of year, Eleanor?
Okay, I have definitely one favorite time of the year, this December, because I love Christmas. For me, Christmas, I don't know what happened with me, but it's like my perspective changed all the time because I'm full of love, I'm full of happiness. I don't know, maybe because I link this season with share with people that many times have not seen yet. It's the moment you can to share with your more close friends that we are far away. We are a lot of party also. I don't know why. I don't know, definitely even the person more sad can become very happy in this moment. Definitely the love conquer everyone in this season. I don't know, it's a moment of hope, especially in this, the world needs hope. The world needs a little bit of the free moment to stop of all this problem, war, immigration, and all this problem around the world. And this is the moment that is just to share with the people that you love more. So definitely my favorite time of the year is December, Christmas. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you for that. And ho, ho, ho to you too. All right, our next question, and this is an assumption I have to say. When you have an hour of free time, what do you usually do? As I say, it may be an assumption that you have an hour of free time, but when you have an hour of free time, what do you usually do? Kim Leeming.
Thank you, Graham, for the question. I so do not want to answer. So when it comes to what do I do when I have an hour of free time, I have no idea. I have not had an hour of free time in I don't know how many years. I love to learn. So I'm going to go with I love to learn. I watch YouTube videos. I've been trying to learn Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere, Blender, Unreal Engine. And I think that when I have extra time, I think that's what I do. Or if I'm not doing that, then I'm going to just be spending quality time with my husband, because that's also one of my favorite things. I don't know if he's going to watch this right now, but probably the replay. So, hey, sweetheart. And I think in general, again, don't have much extra time. I'm going to say I just really love to challenge my brain. I think at my age, at this point, as I'm aging, I want to just do things that completely challenge me and get me to not only just learn new things, but to advance my brain. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, my perspective on this is maybe not what it should be, but my perspective is that I want to pass this back to Graham, our table topics master of the day. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much for that. Now, normally I would ask the question first so that everybody has a chance to think about it. But in this case, I'm going to actually say who the participant is going to be. And that's because we have had a brave guest. Hamida has said that they are willing to answer a question. So Hamida, this question is for you. You asked for a simple one. I hope this is simple. What made you smile this week? So Hamida, what made you smile this week?
Hello, everyone, and thanks, Graham, for the wonderful question. You provided me with the best question I could have asked for. And what made me smile this week was I confirmed my ticket to visit my sister in Canada. And when my ticket got confirmed to visit her, that was the best moment of this week. And I was jumping with joy because of course I'll be meeting her after 6 years, and we both are planning of what I would do and what her family and I would do once I go over there. So there are a lot of plans in the pipeline, lots of excitement, and that's the moment this week which I felt that I am really looking forward to and made me really happy. So I'm glad I shared this with all of you, and thanks for the great question, Graham. Back to you.
Thank you, Hamida, and I hope that your trip brings you as much joy as the anticipation is already bringing you. So thank you for your contribution. Our next question again requires an assumption, and it is, where did you grow up? Now, this assumes that you did grow up, but where did you grow up, Jim Barber?
Thank you, Mr. Topics Master. And as you stated in your assumption, you assumed that I grew up, and I have made it my lifelong endeavor not to grow up. I think that you cannot avoid getting older. That's just a biological function, but you can avoid getting old. And I definitely do not want to do that. I want to remain childlike. Some people might say childish, but I want to remain childlike throughout my entire life. However, working on the assumption that I did grow up, that would be in North Carolina, which is in the Middle Eastern part of the United States. Shouldn't say Middle Eastern. It's the middle of the eastern part of the United States. We'll put it like that. North Carolina is a wonderful state for those of you that haven't been there because it's got everything. Over in the western part of the state, you've got the Smoky Mountains, a nice Appalachian rounded hill, wooded hill kind of thing. On the East Coast, you've got the Outer Banks. You've got probably 1,000 miles of beaches just running up and down the state. And of course, in the central part of the state, you've got a combination of the two. So it's a wonderful place to grow up. I haven't been there in quite a few decades, so I'm afraid it probably has changed since I was there. But I got to tell you, North Carolina is where I grew up. It's a great place to grow up. And if I ever decide to grow up, that I will definitely go back there to do it. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. And I doubt that you ever will, but that's okay. We love you anyway. From North Carolina to a different Carolina, or at least Carolina. Carolina, what is your hidden talent? So what is your hidden talent, Carolina?
Thank you, Graham, for your question. Let me think. This is a very interesting question because I'm not sure where is my hidden talent, because I think that I show all my talents. But I remember that in the period of the pandemic, I used to lift weights, but because of the lockdown, I started to feel back pain. And then I realized that I needed to start to elongate my muscles more. So I started to take some classes in YouTube of twerking. And I realized that I was pretty good dancing twerking. And I was very talented in shaking my hips and all that kind of moves that are related to twerking. And because of that dancing, that dance is so intense, I don't twerk in public. And I could say that that is my hidden talent, twerking.
Excellent.
Back to you, Graham. That was that is almost my secret.
As people have pointed out in the chat, we want a demonstration. Thank you very much, Carolina. And for your timekeeping records, 1 minute and 2 seconds. So,
thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Our next table topic. What is your social media of choice? What is your social media of choice? And this goes to Sherry Blake.
Thank you so much, Graham, for that question. My social media of choice. Wow. Well, I'm sorry to say, but it is TikTok. I love TikTok. TikTok, first of all, let me tell you this. For those who are not on TikTok, try it out. TikTok is very educational. Do you know how many things I've learned on TikTok? I learned how to put a garbage bag in the garbage can the right way. I learned that from TikTok. TikTok has a lot of information. I love the videos. I get a big kick out of it. I do one thing that I should not be doing at night is that I will lay in the bed and watch TikTok, and I'm cracking up. I'm in tears, laughing. But for a TikToker, you know, and I know the best part of TikTok is what? The comment section. The comments are sometimes funnier than the video. So TikTok, I love it. It's just one of those passions of mine. I'm not embarrassed to tell people I like TikTok. I'm the type of person, I just like to be entertained, and TikTok does it for me. One thing that I stopped doing on TikTok and even Instagram and other social media is that I stopped liking videos. Not that I don't like the video, but I just stopped hitting the like button. I think I need to get back to liking videos because my algorithm is all messed up. So I think I'm going to start liking videos so I can get certain videos in my algorithm. But Graham, thank you so much for that question because I enjoyed talking about it. But yes, it is TikTok. I love it. Back to you, Graham.
Thank you, Sherry. Tick, 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 tick. It's the timing. Our next question, who has had the greatest impact on your life? Who has had the greatest impact on your life? And I'll give this one to Carrie Kong. So Carrie, who has had the greatest impact on your life?
Good evening, Toastmasters, Table Topics Toastmasters. Who has the greatest impact on my life? I would like to say she's my aunt. I know there are a lot of like different types of names that we can name it in terms of aunt in Chinese. So basically, she is my father's elder sister, basically. But even though you're thinking about, okay, my father's elder sister, how old is she? She was 90 years old when she passed away last year. So it was a huge gap between she and my father, and also my father and I. So why she was my most respectable person and also has the most impact on my life, she was actually very low, considerably like lowly educated, and maybe she didn't get like a high education in university or campus. She's also a very normal and very like person living in her life throughout her years, but she's very kind. I still remember when she was taking care of me when I was really young, and once upon a time I get a test result of like 97 points out of 100. And I was super sad. I just jumped into the door and said, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't get the full marks because I was aiming for perfect marks, 100. But she said, no worries about that. You're always the best. You're perfect. So she was really kind to me, even though she knew that I was trying my really best. Compared to my parents, she is relatively more kind. And her kindness and also her care for me, like all throughout the days, cooking the soup, cooking the rice, cooking everything that I really love, that really inspired me to become like a nice person, even though no matter what I achieve, like in my society status, my grades and everything, I just want to be a perfect person like her. So she has the most impact on me, and I do think she's the person I love the most. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I think you could say that your aunt was showing a perfect example of storge, which is familial love. There are, in fact, 6 different types of love, given that our theme today is love conquers all. Eros, romantic; storge, familial; philia, or platonic or brotherly love. One that I think is probably the most important form of love, and that's philotia, self-love; xenia, hospitality or guest love; and agape, or divine love. I just thought I'd run through those. We have 2 more questions left, and we have just enough time for them according to the agenda, so we're doing well here. This next one goes to Andre. Andre, what makes you feel secure? What makes you feel secure?
Well, thank you, Graham, for this question. One of the things that makes me feel secure is swimming. Strangely enough, it's open water swimming. Not in a swimming pool with the shallow water, when you're out in the sea. I've been swimming for a number of years in open waters in and around Manchester, which I really enjoy. But when you go for a swim into the sea, and when I get myself feel and embrace the ocean and the waters, and I feel united with the water and the nature, that's one of the most secure feelings that I think a human being can ever get. And the reason is, there is the scientific reason for it, because when we in the womb of our mother, what is surrounding us is the water. So the sounds of the water makes soothes our mind. And in nature, running water, for example, or swimming in the water, anything to do with water is the best therapy that human being could have. Of course, it's debatable. We have a number of opinions about that. At the same time, feeling secure and feeling loved and united with the nature, that's the swimming for me. Back to you, Graham.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for that. And as Dory would say, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. It's important. I have one last table topic question left, and it's going to go to Ruth Ellen, but I'm going to give Ruth Ellen a choice. I have 3 cards left that I have not used out of the group that I pulled out. Choose left, center, or right.
Right, please.
The right-hand one is, sorry, you chose it. Ruth Ellen, what makes you weird? What makes you weird, Ruth Ellen?
So many things, but I have to keep it really short because of the time. What makes me weird? If you've ever been to London, on the London Underground, you would know there's a certain smell. It's like, for me, one of the best smells ever. That's what makes me weird, because the smell in London Underground is very unique. It's almost like this like mold type smell, and it's musky and it's kind of gross to other people, but to me it just feels like home. So that's what makes me weird. And there's many other things I could add, because mold is not a very nice thing, but there's other things I could add, but I'm not going to today. I think that's more than enough weird for me. But definitely, if you're ever in London, go to London Underground and just take a sniff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth Ellen. I have to say, the smell of the tube is not something that I would have put up there on the list of things that make me go, oh, yes. But I do love the tube. I do, although there are parts of the tube that really confused me. I was trying to get from one part of the city to another and thinking, This is just too complicated. But we got there. And I love Oyster cards because that meant that I could just go wherever I wanted and it didn't cost me much. Anyway, enough of that. It is, in fact, 20 to the hour, which means that, except for those in India, and I'm sorry about that, Kirthikka, you get it 10 past the hour for you. But for everybody else, it is 20 to the hour. That means the Table Topics has run out of time. I'll hand control back to our Toastmaster of the evening. Here's Johnny.
Thank you, Graham. And let me just say applause, applause, applause for that round of table topics. I know that we all had some fun and got some perspective on how everyone thinks. And I also should say thank you, because I really did not want to read and pronounce them. So I appreciate it. Before we move on to the next part of our meeting, which is general evaluation, I am throwing in an evaluation for us all, and Graham helped me out so I don't have to read them and embarrass myself in public. Which one are you? There are many different versions of love, and we only ever talk about romantic. Now, that's the fun one. That's the one that makes you do sensible, I'm trying to be positive, wonderfully brilliant things that you sit back and wonder why, where, how, and when was that? But there are other forms of love that if we think about incorporating them, maybe not just in romantic, but in every other aspect of life, we might take it to another step, especially the self-love part. Today, as we evaluate ourselves and answer which one it is, we're also going to have our third part of the meeting. Don't worry, no more math. And for that, we will have our general evaluator, Sunny Fridge. Now, Sunny is our coming to be Sergeant at Arms, so I'm passing the baton on from me to her. And as such, I look forward to her taking us through our general evaluation. Over to you, Sunny.
Thank you so much, Joni, Toastmaster of the Day. Fellow Toastmasters, any guests, as well as those on the replay, I get to lead this evaluation segment. This is a test of our listening skills. We just finished thinking on our feet, and boy, did we learn a lot about some of our members, from twerking to TikTok to swimming. Boy, being thankful. I learned a whole lot. Now it is our turn to learn about speech evaluation. We only had one speech today. First, I will introduce our speech evaluator, and then after that, I will introduce some of our facilitators who help to make this meeting work, because teamwork makes the dream work. So our first evaluator is Teresa. She will be evaluating the speak by Kirthikka. Please help me welcome Teresa to the virtual stage. Speech evaluator 1.
Hi, Kirthikka. I really enjoy the fact that we're using slides more in these meetings. And in particular, one of the things that, so in evaluating your speech, it wasn't on the agenda that what the title was and also what you were trying to accomplish. And so and it's hard to get around on the Toastmaster site. So I was trying to figure out where the evaluation was for me to even be able to use. So I'm going to wing it here. So thank you so much for your topic. We were able to get the topic in the chat about everyday irrationalities. And what I thought in the slides, I don't know if today I'm just tired or if the topic was super nerdy, but I was really struggling to get the topic and the words that you were using. And one of the things that I think that the slides would have been really helpful with is if you typed the word to the type of word, irrationality that you were trying to illustrate. And that would have helped me kind of like latch onto that idea a little bit easier. And then also I noticed that there was a part where the slides weren't advancing and we weren't quite on topic. We stayed on the baseball slide quite a bit before we moved on to the next slide. And so thinking about how the slides actually help the viewer, especially if they're challenged in some way, I think that would have been really helpful. But I love your enthusiasm. I love the topics that you bring up. And I used to work in tech. And so I would see these guys like nerd out on all these great topics. And I was like, oh yes, those guys would have loved this presentation so much. But I was really struggling to kind of keep up with the topic. And so I think that that's something to bear in mind as your audience. Like, how do we bring them along? I do love the baseball analogy with the bat and the ball, and that gave us a chance to engage. And that was really fun to see how many really smart people in our group came up with the right answer. I think a slide even illustrating the formula and how that the math, for those like me who can be a little bit slower on some of that kind of stuff, might have been helpful to make your point even stronger. So all of this is basically to say, like, there were opportunities, I think, to help us grasp onto your concept even better. And the slides are a great place to start leveraging some of those opportunities, whether you're using breaking down the math for us on how that actually works and the answer, or even illustrating the words itself. But great talk. I really look forward to seeing you more. And thank you so much for predictable irrationalities in our everyday life. Thank you.
And thank you, Teresa, for that evaluation. Only one speech evaluator. Sounds like we have a winner. And in terms of just adding to your speech evaluation as a general evaluator, I get to evaluate you as a evaluator. And I thought that was a good point that you made. If you're going to evaluate someone, you definitely want to make sure you have the evaluation report or the details of what the speech is, and maybe even ask the speaker in advance if there's something that they'd like to be evaluated on. I think we got away from that once we came into from the traditional way that we used to evaluate when we had the books and all. And for some of the guests, they may be thinking, what are you talking about? But in general, I thought you did a great job without knowing that much about her speech, because you don't always evaluate the speaker, you evaluate the speech. And you talked about the delivery in terms of the slides, and that's always good. And anytime that you can give someone and something they can do better is always great, because that's what we're here for. Now it's time to find out what else we're here for. Different perspectives from our timer, odd counter, and grammarian, my tag team. Please help me welcome to the stage our timer, Carolina. Please give us your 1-minute report or less.
Sunny, I put the timing in the chat, and everyone is qualified today. Good job. Back to you.
Awesome. Well, now that we know that everyone's time was met, please, if you have not done so, vote for our table topics master, whoever rather had the best table topics. Moving on to so let's move on to our counter, Sherry. Please, Wizard of Oz, come to the virtual stage.
Thank you so much, Sunny. Graham had a couple of ahs. Marianne had an ah and an and some so's. Now, so's aren't always bad to use, but I always feel that if you eliminate the so and you can still convey your point, then maybe the so isn't necessary. Elena had ums and ahs, a couple ums and ahs. Kim, I heard one ah. Hamida, you had 3 ahs and a so. Carolina, 2 ums. Carrie, you had a few ums and ahs. Teresa, you had a few ums and ahs. And Sunny, I heard 1 Back to you, Sunny.
Thank you so much for that report, Countess Sherry. So good. All right. Now we're going to have another perspective by our grammarian, Ruth Ellen. Please help me welcome Ruth Ellen to the virtual stage. How did we do with the King's English?
Well, first of all, can everyone unmute themselves and use the word of the day after 3? 1, 2, 3. Perspective.
Perspective.
Let's do it again in time. 1, 2, 3.
Perspective.
Perspective.
Okay, we more or less use the word of today. The standout star for using word of the day has to be Joni. Amazing use of it, amazing reminder, amazing way of making sure that it was centered and focused. And there was a story with every single thing as well, which was great. I also noticed David used the word of the day, Kirthikka, hopefully that's the name right as well. Kim, and I love the words used, phrases today. We used arbitrary from Kirthikka's speech, which was great, arbitrary in their response. We heard the world needs hope, Elena. Advance my brain, Kim. Jump in with joy, paints a really great picture. I want to remain childlike, Jim Barber, which is something we all aspire to, right? I don't twerk in public. Love that, because it just like shut everything down. There's going to be no demos, guys. That's it. She's the person I love the most. Really heartfelt. Made us really feel emotion. Sounds of water soothes our mind. Again, puts us right there in the swimming pool or out there in nature, if that's what you love as well. Latch onto words. Again, something else that is just helpful for us to kind of grasp. So great use of language and phrases, everyone, just in terms of being able to paint the picture for everyone so that they can come along the journey with you. And that's why I love being grammarian. It helps me to be an active listener and pick up on the great use of language. So thank you all.
Awesome. Loved your report. It reminds me of the saying, it may come from the Bible or it's Bible related, but if you want to change your world, change your words. And we heard some great words today. Now it's time to watch what's going on. So here to tell us that answer is our watcher, Kim Leaning. Kim.
Yes, I am watching all of you. So I'm going to start with Kirthikka. Kirthikka, you did a wonderful job with your speech. Your background with your slides was just awesome. And I just want to say, I'm not sure what program you use, but to have your stuff cut out in front of it was just great. So I'm way kudos. So watcher award for tonight is Kirthikka. Graham, a world of love background, loved that, is awesome. Andre, beautiful hearts, just very, very cool. Love that. And Sunny, hot and cold Sunny, which I can't ever mention your name without saying it. However, just wonderful with the hearts in the background. So I want to say everyone, I can't like give a negative to anybody. Everyone they were centered, they were beautiful in their background. And this is a big thing for online presenters. And so back to you.
Awesome. And speaking of backgrounds, love yours too. I believe if you don't know, they're on the right of share, there's apps. And if you click on apps, there's virtual backgrounds. And that's where you can find a virtual background on any theme that we have in this meeting. So keep that in mind when you want to be watched. Now that we've heard what looks good, let's see what's happening in the chat. Please help me welcome our chat monitor, Carrie Kong, to the virtual stage. Carrie.
Thank you, Dr. Sunny. So I would like to give some perspectives from my side. The perspectives is for the chat. Today, the chat is very energetic. I love it. So I think The first thing I really appreciate is the Graham's really great work in the table topics, because it just make everyone so excited and sending pictures all over. So we definitely really like Marianne's pictures, and then tries out your picture with Michael Fronte, and then the twerking that's provided by Andrea. So I really do thank Andrea for providing a lot of substitute time for me when I was asking questions and trying to pose questions and answer questions. Everyone else was just participating and making a lot of fun and responses. That's definitely great. And last but not least, Graham's 6 words from Greek is very impressive throughout the chat. So we would like to keep this fight ongoing for the next chat and the other one. So make every single meeting energetic and adding more perspectives. Thank you so much. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Chatty Carrie Kong, for those great words and finding out what's interesting, exciting, or even funny in the chat. Now, I would like to know what is happening with our votes. Vote counter Carolina, can you let us know who is our best table topics winner?
Table topic section was a very tough competition today. Thanks to those who voted for me, because I won. Back to you.
Twerk it. So instead of a speech, you can give us a demonstration. That's what we're I'm just saying. Another time. Who's got talent? Okay, we'll take that. All right. Well, it's been my pleasure to serve as General Evaluator. I will just say one thing that I did notice that we could improve with the meeting is at one point when you say we don't have guests and you no need to explain today, instead think about our guests who may watch on the replay. So you might as well say your role and practice your role and explain it, because that might be the way that we get someone who also would like to come to our meeting in person. So that's just one observation that I had in terms of the listening and watching portion of my role as General Evaluator. I will return the meeting to our Toastmaster of the Day. Great meeting, great TMOD. Back to you, Joni.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. And I love the tip that you're leaving with. Awesome Rihanna song, Ponder Replay. I couldn't be Toastmaster of the Day and not throw some Jamaican in there. And this is something I believe is universal, because that song's out there. But just so you know, it's on the replay. So we can keep that in mind. Ponder replay whenever we are explaining our roles. It's the end of the meeting. We've evaluated. Is it just my perspective, or didn't we just start? You know, time really does fly when you are having fun. And that's the beauty of a Toastmasters meeting. Eventually, when you're there long enough, you will find something that somewhere along the course of all of the possible love there is, something will hit you. Is it here? Is it here? In the cartoon, it's here, but I know it's somewhere on the left side. I'm just checking. But wherever it is, it's gonna hit you right there. And that's the beauty of love. It's the conversation, but it's not just the communication. It's the comprehension. Remember, everyone has a different perspective. Everyone has a different story. We're all the same, even though we're different. Just humans having a human experience. What's important is to find out where we connect and how we can share love. And with that, I turn control over to our president, David Carr.
Thank you, Joni.